Hello. If you ever learned any about the Triassic period in school, and you better have been paying attention because this will be on the test, you know that it was a period of beginnings. Taking place after Earth's worst extinction to date, the Triassic period saw Pangea beginning to split apart, and the first dinosaurs slapping themselves onto that big blue and green planet we call Earth. Coming right off the heels of a vicious mass extinction and directly predating the famous Jurassic period, the Triassic period's place right in the middle makes it a very compelling subject to explore in more detail. At least, that's what my teacher tried to tell me, but I wasn't really paying attention. Wait, we have a test today? What were we talking about again?
Hitting you with the facts right off the 10-foot pole. The Triassic period took place around 252 million years ago, and it ended about 51 million years after. Tarnation. Those dinos, they're pretty blast resistant. No, seriously. They were plagued with numerous volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and the occasional meteor every Tuesday. Back then, the climate was pretty poggers, being of predominantly warm and dry nature. Britannica. That's where we got the source. I just read it in the script. This is compared to the cool and dry seasons that we are used to in our current Cenozoic. God, why do scientists make these names so hard for humanoid creatures to pronounce? I'm gonna smite them all down.
The regional climate was generally pretty dry over much of Pangea, with very hot summers and cold winters in the continental interior, whatever that means. Okay, I'm pretty sure continental interior just means the inner regions of the continent, hence interior. Or it could be a luxury car, either one. That is looking like a distinct possibility. Near the coastal regions, the weather was highly seasonal. Kind of like today's, my home dogs. There is evidence supporting both the notion of a dry, arid climate and one rich in seasonal precipitation. To resolve this apparent contradiction, researchers postulated that monsoonal winds brought precipitation to some areas. It's almost like the DoorDash of seasonal precipitation that you didn't order. Look, the video's free, okay? Nevertheless, the lack of polar ice caps in the Triassic period made the climate very warm. This made it quite difficult for the old dinos to mouth-feed their children. Tasty soft food. Compare the Triassic period's lackluster polar ice caps to today, where our polar ice caps are strong and under absolutely no threat of... But they had a little secret they kept to themselves. That little secret is known as adaptation, cheeky buggers. They were well equipped to survive fluctuations in the temperatures with their fancy feathers and lungs that could continually circulate air.
They keep going and going and going.
Many animals that we know of today, including turtles, lizards, and crocodilians, first began to appear in their ancestral forms during the Triassic period. The preceding Permian period wiped out a lot of biological diversity due to the massive extinction that violently wiped out masses of life and closed the period out with a bang and a whimper and a sponsor. I'd like to thank Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Have you ever had issues with your... Notably, however, the first mammals appeared during this time period, including the Morganucodon. Again with the names. And we have the fossilized remains of these mammals, although we do not have an especially clear fossil record of the evolution of these mammals from their predecessors. Yet.
This is the map of the early Triassic period, once again provided to us by Britannica, our lords and saviors.
Britannica.
Here you can see the unified Pangea landmass. However, in this map of the late Triassic period, we see the rift has begun, setting the stage for the shape and form of the continents as we recognize them today. This is further demonstrated by the side-by-side comparison of the late Triassic map and the modern world map. In this before and after comparison, you can see the dramatic effects of this brand new diet pill. Wait. Wrong script.
Okay, you got us. We're not really time travelers. We're not really in the Triassic period, and this is just a set. But just indulge us here for a second, and let's play some make-believe. After all, stopping and think about what it would be like for us if we were living in the Triassic period serves to engage us more in learning about it. I think the main question is, what dangers would we face?
If you travel back to this time period, we're legally required to disclose that you may or may not get eaten by a dinosaur, stomped on by a dinosaur, obliterated by a dinosaur, eviscerated by a dinosaur. Yeah, we're talking a bit more about dinosaurs. They were temperamental creatures. That's what I'm trying to get across. But it wasn't just dinosaurs you had to watch out for. Massive bursts of volcanic activity near the end of the Triassic period led to the climate change. Yeah, that's the understatement of the Mesozoic era right there.
The Mesozoic era being one of Earth's three major eras, coming after the Paleozoic era and ending 66 million years ago at the beginning of our current, aforementioned Cenozoic era. In fact, the Mesozoic era actually began with the Triassic period. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, that.
Acidification of the oceans, rising sea levels, mass extinction of terrestrial life, the whole shebang. In fact, the only archaeosaurs to win the apocalypse lottery were the dinosaurs, crocodiles, and pterosaurs. All the rest got wiped out. GG, home dogs.
This is essentially how the Triassic period ended, curiously mirroring how it began with the aforementioned Permian-Triassic extinction, which some estimates say eliminated 90% of the Earth's species. This end Triassic extinction was not quite as monumental, but it still highlights the danger and volatility of life in the Triassic period.